Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Life and Sport podcast. And we're joined by a special guest. And I say that every episode, but that's because every guest I have is special in their own sport. And this is Abbey Willcox. She is, in my opinion, a smoky for the Olympic team for the next Winter Olympics. Um, Free skiing World Cup winner and Coastie. Anyone who doesn't know what that is, that's someone from the Central Coast. First Coastie I've had on the podcast. Actually, sorry, tell a lie. I thought you were, but you weren't. James Maloney was the other one. But I would definitely say you're the first Central Coast person who's in an extreme type of sport, which is awesome. First of all, thank you for joining me. And how has your week been so far?
Well, thanks for having me. And I'm stoked to be the second coastie on the podcast now. Yeah, my week has been really good. I'm over here in Utah training, so it's yeah, very snowy, very cold, but yeah, training's going well so far. I can't complain.
That's fair enough. And obviously, to anyone who doesn't know, you're in the sport of free skiing. So, if you could explain to the audience what, first of all, that is, and what your current training regimen sort of looks like on a day in the life of sort of thing.
Yeah, so freestyle aerial skiing is what I do. It's basically a lot of people describe it as gymnastics on skis.
Okay.
Essentially, we ski into one big jump. We ski in about 50, between 50 k's an hour and 60 k's an hour, and then we do two or three flips,
All them
and then
aerial stuff. Yep.
a couple of twists, and then try and land it and ski out of it. And at the end of the day, whoever
Without a
gets the
broken leg.
yeah, exactly, exactly right. Yeah, and at the end of the day, whoever gets the best score gets on the podium. And yeah, I mean, training for me, it's since I was 18, I've kind of been doing it full time.
Hmm.
And it takes up, it's pretty much a full-time job. You're training from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. On the slopes here in Utah. I'm out there. I spend probably 2 hours warming up every day, and then I get ready. We prep the landing, we prep the jump site, and then we start training on the jumps, and that goes for about 2 hours. And then after that, we go to the gym as well. So it's pretty full on, and it takes a lot of time, but wouldn't have it any other way.
That's fair enough. And obviously, you've got to be absolutely dedicated to a sport like that. And so, my next question is, how did you get into free skiing and freestyle skiing?
Yeah, so I did gymnastics growing up. So on the Central Coast, I did gymnastics pretty much.
Scallywags?
Yeah, scallywags. I
Yeah.
started at scallywags. Then I went to Gosford Gymnastics.
Okay.
And then I kind of switched between a few different clubs that don't exist anymore. But yeah, so I did gymnastics, and it was actually on a trip to the snow with my parents. I decided to do a trampolining class,
Hmm.
and someone came up to me and asked me if I wanted to try this thing called aerial skiing. And I was like, what's that?
You're like, I can't even ski yet. What are you saying,
Yeah, yeah.
freestyle skiing?
Like, you haven't even watched me ski. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm the person you want me you want for this sport. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I got asked to try it, and kind of did my research. I found out that we've had so many medals in the sport in the past, and we've been really successful at it in the Olympics. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's just give this a go. And um, yeah, started skiing more, and developing all my skills from there.
That's awesome because it sounds like the sport found you rather than you found the sport, which is honestly really awesome because so many people from all different sports are like, yeah, it was, grassroots, 5 years old, wanted to do it. So that's honestly really, really cool. And obviously that brings up the question, did you follow or support any other sports growing up?
I mean, mainly gymnastics, and any kind of like acrobatic sports like diving and trampolining. That was kind of my world, really. I played a little bit of soccer and OzTag and netball, etc. I kind of dabbled in a lot of things, and
Yeah.
um, watched rugby growing up, AFL cricket kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, just love sports in general, really. That's just my childhood, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And I think it's a pretty fair childhood for most Aussies, even if they don't end up as a professional in sport. And obviously, you mentioned in our LinkedIn chats that you've represented the green and golds for 6 years so far. First of all, what was it like getting the call up for the first time to represent Australia?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was a surreal feeling, that's for sure. Like, and I think every year that you represent Australia, you kind of get that same feeling.
Because it's like,
Um,
oh, they're picking me again.
yeah, yeah. But my road to representing Australia was it was pretty rough. Like
Yeah, tell us about
um
it.
I started in the program when I was 18, but it kind of got to a certain point where they decided that they just didn't think I had what it took, and they
Oh,
didn't have the talent. So
it's a bit of a shit
yeah,
go.
yeah. So and I was like, hang on, no, I haven't even had a chance yet. I can absolutely do this sport.
Yeah,
Because by that point I'd fallen in love with it too. And I was like, I really want to do this and I want to get to the Olympics. Like I'm invested. Um,
like I'm doing this, or I'm not. I don't have a job. There's no in between sort of thing.
yeah, exactly. So it kind of got to a point when I was about 20 years
Mm.
old. Yeah, I got my funding cut from the program and I decided like, well, there's no other coaches in Australia that will take me. I'm going to have to move overseas if I want to continue this. So I ended up moving to Switzerland. I found a
Okay.
Swiss coach and trained with the Swiss team and trained with them for a year before Australia looked at me again.
So
And
you had to
then,
train in another bloody country with another country's national team before the
mhm,
Aussies were like, hey, actually, we kind of want you
yes,
on our team now. Jeez.
yeah, that's exactly it.
So
Yeah,
you
pretty
made
crazy.
them look, you made them turn their heads, which is absolutely great. And the coasty way, because it's so hard to get anywhere in professional sports from the Central Coast, let alone, for lack of a better term, a niche sport compared to the other sports that are played here. Like that's incredible. Continue the story, please.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough, that's for sure, but it's also like probably one of the best years of my life in the sport. When I was training with the Swiss team, I just learned so much, and I just kind of became a different person. And eventually, a year later, they brought me back into the Australian team, and um, I continued on from there. But yeah, I mean the friendships I built and everything I got from my coach there, it's just very invaluable. It's just
Well, they
very
literally got you back to the level of competing like with Australia. So
exactly,
absolutely.
yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. That's unfathomable. Like because anyone else could have been forgiven for, just packing it in. They could be like, you know what, I gave it my all. They said I'm not good enough, or or this, that, the other. I gave it a red hot crack. But no, you were like, nah, pardon my language, fuck this. I'm a gonna
Exactly.
I'm gonna
Yep.
literally make them see that I'm good enough. And you did that, which is all inspiring as well. My next question is obviously a World Cup win. First of all, how does the World Cup work for people who may not know or understand? And secondly, what was it like getting the win in the World Cup in the green and gold that decided you weren't good enough years ago to be like, fuck you, I won a World Cup sort of thing?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I think it was a year later, a year after I'd got the gotten back in the Australian uniform. And yeah, I was in Deer Valley, Utah, where I am currently, and I got to perform at that World Cup. And everybody there that had said I wasn't good enough, they
Was
were all
there?
there for
Oh,
competition. So
that's even better. I love that.
yeah. So I ended up getting bronze at that World Cup and stood on the podium, and it was just honestly such a surreal feeling.
Number three
Yeah,
in the world. That's incredible.
yeah. Um, I don't know. It's just it felt like everything kind of came together at that moment, I
Yeah.
guess. everything, all that pain the years beforehand.
Did their tones sort of change after you made the podium towards like being like, hey, let's give you everything we need, or what do you need? We'll give it to you, sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, there's a very strict funding
Yeah,
criteria
of
in,
course.
across any government funded sport. And, once you kind of get on that podium, it just opens up a few more doors.
Especially with
And
sponsors as well, like because they would help with third parties funding as well.
exactly, yeah. People kind of take a look at you and they're like, oh, she's actually, the real
Good.
deal, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely surreal. Always chasing that feeling, and I think any athlete is.
that's amazing. And obviously, right now you're in the US. So I've got a question about Australia, and it's what's the main thing you miss about Australia when you're over in the US or traveling for the sport?
Hmm. Well, that's a great question. And I want to say Tim Tams and Vegemite, to be
But
honest.
it's your family,
Um,
isn't it?
yeah, it is my family. It's
I
my
was literally going
boyfriend,
to say, I was going to say,
know.
feel free to say your
Yeah,
family, not Vegemite, because I mean it does slap, but apparently you can
yeah,
buy it in America. So
yeah. No, it's everyone back at home, and I feel like now, for the first time in a long time, I've had a base at home, and I live in Brisbane now, and so I've developed a lot of friendships and circles, and um, yeah,
that's crazy
just miss
flip
more.
because I was born in Brisbane but raised on the Central Coast.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, but
How
you're
funny.
right. Pardon?
I said, how funny.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whereas you're raised on the coast, but got a base up in Brisbane now, which is freaking flip basically, which is great to hear. Your feet deserve a break, guys. And what better way to treat them right than with a new pair of thongs? And guys, Toey Thongs has you covered. No word of an actual lie. These thongs are the comfiest pairs I've ever owned. Straight out of the package, soft as heck. They come in single plugger and double plugger. I'm currently rocking the single pluggers. Yeah, guys, for just $30 per solo pair. And the more you buy, the cheaper they get. And who doesn't love cheap thongs? They also offer a monthly subscription to receive a pair every month for 6 months. So if you're a thong fiend or just need a new pair, be sure to head to toeythongs.com. Use our code LifeandSport15 for 15% off at checkout. I've got some quick fire questions and then we'll get into sort of the finalizing sort of questions. First question on the quick fire is Apple or Android?
Apple.
Absolutely. Well, Apple phone is what I use, but I use a Windows computer because editing and stuff.
Yeah.
Next question. How do you like your steak? If that is you eat steak, because you could be vegetarian for all I know.
Yeah. Medium rare.
Medium rare, absolutely. And I said this in the most recent episode and the episode before that. There was a bloke a few episodes ago that said, well done. And I was just like, oh, nah, I don't want
Ooh.
to. Yeah, I don't want to be chewing. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, I really like The Imitation Game.
That's a
Um,
good film.
and Gladiator. I don't know
Oh,
if pick
no
between the.
way, because my guest that I just had on an hour ago said Gladiator.
There you go.
Yeah. And you're the only two people who've said Gladiator. So that's
It's a
crazy.
day for it.
As they say in Australia, it is a day for it. Absolutely. Um, and final question of the quick fire is thongs or Crocs?
Thongs.
Absolutely. Radio, and I've got some final questions to wrap this up. First of all, obviously, high intense sport, regardless of what sport it is, everyone needs a mental decompressor. What do you like to do in your off time away from the sport to, steer your focus away from it for a bit?
Um, Honestly, Netflix, movies, TV shows, music. That just
Got any binge show recommendations?
I just watched Severance.
Okay.
Um, it's on Apple TV. It's very interesting. It's not exactly a comedy, but yeah,
Cool.
I
Okay.
recommend that. Yeah.
Okay. And what? So obviously you just finished that. Have you picked a show that you're going to start?
Yeah, Boy Swallows Universe.
Okay, I've not heard of that. Have you watched the first episode? Give us a bit of a what's it about?
Yeah, so it's based in Brisbane, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically these kids growing up in Brisbane, and there's some crime going on, drug drug things going on.
So Brisbane, basically.
Brisbane, basically,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I've watched the first episode. It's really good. So,
Okay. So that's the recommendations. Awesome.
Mhm.
Obviously, your goal is to make the Olympic team. And
Mhm.
obviously, it's a summer Olympic year this year, not the winter Olympic year. What do you feel like you could possibly? I mean, I doubt you need to do anything better than what you're doing now, but what do you think you could do to possibly improve your chances of, going to the Olympics?
I mean, right now I'm working full time and training as well. So, being able to take some time away from work to train a little bit more would definitely improve my general skill set and
Mhm.
chances of sort of performing better. So,
That's fair.
yeah, yeah.
So, obviously, to anyone who doesn't know, you do work in a sports related company. We won't
Mhm.
mention who and whatnot for privacy reasons, but
Mhm.
it's lucky enough that during their sporting season is during the winter in Australia. So that means
Yes.
you've got the entire northern hemisphere winter off,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
How do you juggle as you were just saying, the time of, especially when it's in winter in Australia, while working in Australia, to, hone your craft?
I mean, we're pretty lucky. We have a training center in Brisbane, so that's
Oh,
why I'm
awesome. Hang on, though.
um
There's no snow in Brisbane.
yeah, I know.
How?
It's a bit of a weird one, but
Okay.
we practice all our jumps off some man-made jumps into water. Um
Okay. That's pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah. So we call it water ramping, and that's basically our off season. So
Gotcha.
usually I'll work in the morning, or sorry, train in the morning and then go to
Yep.
work in the afternoon and then like do gym after work. So it's
That way you're still getting your physical training, your work,
yeah,
and your gym session done.
yes, yeah.
That's really cool
So
because I've always wondered how Aussies in particular and or people from hotter countries such as New Zealand, South Africa manage to train for winter sports in a summer bloody climate.
yeah, yeah. No, there's
Wow.
they're becoming pretty clever now with the way that winter athletes can train. So um I'm just lucky that there's a training center in Brisbane because we didn't have that a couple of years ago.
Oh wow. Yeah, wow. And obviously I've got a final question for you. And obviously I think I know the answer is Olympics. But what's next for Abbey Wilcox?
Honestly, this season I'm just trying to find my feet again in the sport and improve on some things and enjoy it along the way. But ultimately, yes, the Olympics is the dream. But just kind of
Absolutely.
take it step by step.
Absolutely. Is there any sort of World Cup or something like that coming up this year or next year, at least before the Olympics?
Yeah, yep. So I've got two coming up. One's on the 3rd of Feb and one's on the 10th of Feb.
Okay,
So
and where are these located, if you don't mind me asking, so we can try and plug it when they're sort of coming up.
yeah, so Deer Valley in Utah, so where I am now, and then in Quebec in Canada.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Rightio. So also are they televised or is it live streamed on like Red Bull's Facebook sort of thing?
It's live streamed. It's called FIS, Freestyle International Skiing. So
So FISS.
just FIS.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll definitely
And
pop that into the description and I'll definitely be sure to plug that when it's like when both of those events are up because definitely want to support our Aussies, especially our fellow coasties. Um, that's awesome. And obviously, do those actually, I've got a question to go off that is, do those competitions sort of work towards points towards being selected for Olympic teams?
they do. Not this season though. The
Okay.
qualifications start next season.
Gotcha. So it's the year before the Olympic sort of season starts.
Yeah, yeah. So then you get 2 seasons to qualify. And
Okay.
in the second season is when the Olympics happen. So
Yeah, gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. So yeah, again, thank you very much for your time. We'll definitely get you on again in a year or two's time to see how you're tracking, how you're progressing, and hopefully donning that green and gold for the Winter Olympics in the next one. Also, I don't know where it's being hosted yet. Obviously, winter sports people do. Can you let us know
Mhm.
where it's being hosted?
Yes, in Italy, Milan.
Ooh, geez. So she's not only been to Switzerland, she's in America. She's going to Canada. Now she's going to Italy if and when she makes the Australian team. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, I'm glad that it's in a country with lots of nice food, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Rightio, that about wraps that up. Thank you very much for your time, Abby. I very much appreciate it. I'm going to click the stop